Hi, I'm Brian Schrader, and you're listening to Outstanding in Your Field, powered by Pioneer Agronomy. I'm here with my co-hosts, agronomist Carl Joran and Crystal Williams.
Think of us as IT for your crops. If we know how to fix your issues, we'll tell you. And if not, we've probably got a workaround.
And if we don't, we'll find one because Mother Nature isn't like an on-off switch.
All right. Well, today is April 20th, 2026. And that also means it is Pioneer's 100th anniversary. So happy anniversary or 100 years of century of innovation and everything else that we are so excited. So as a Outstanding in Your Fields podcast group, we thought we would make a little fun of and have some fun with the birthday. So I hope you enjoy our festiveness. If you're not seeing us on video, you should go look us up on YouTube or something like that. Luckily, Brian and Carl go along with my crazy ideas a little bit. So we've got a corn hat with 100 candles out of it. We've got a little sombrero, a little party hat, you name it. So some different fun. But I guess, Brian and Carl, what is your most favorite thing, or what are you excited the most about with our 100-year celebration?
For me, Crystal, I've always kind of been, I guess, a little bit of an amateur pioneer historian. And just being able to see all of the images, we've been fortunate to have a lot of different images that have come out. I think our listeners will see those in a lot of advertisements and everything. I recently received a 100th anniversary book that we got. I've been through that thing a couple different times, just looking at pictures and seeing things. And I think really it's about seeing the past, but also recognizing that we've got the future in front of us. And you think about it, we had 100-year celebration today in Johnston, and Chuck Mangro, our CEO, he made the comment that there's been a lot of innovation to get us here, but the next 100 years is going to be just as much or more fun. And then if you think about all of these men and women who have contributed to it, knowing some of them personally, and then also their connection to history, it's a lot of fun to think about all of the people that I've had the opportunity to interact with over my career who have contributed to the brand. And I think the idea that hopefully when I retire in a handful of years that I leave the organization as good or better than I found it, that's exciting to me. That's what keeps me going every day, is to be able to do that and feel like I'm contributing to everybody and the brand.
Brian, that'd be a fun exercise. Do the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but back to Henry Wallace or Raymond Baker, right? See, I can go.
I can do Raymond Baker in one, believe it or not. I worked with a DSM over in Ohio when I started my career by the name of Paul Pinkerton. And Paul actually started his career as an hourly guy at Antioch College, which was where we did plots and different breeding programs in the East. And Paul actually worked with Dr. Baker when he started as a young guy. So I can go to Dr. Baker and I can go to Henry Wallace pretty quick, thanks to having worked with Paul.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Brian, I think there was a time, it might have been, after a recording a number of years ago, but we were talking about the idea of the coffee table book and what a great opportunity the 100th year anniversary was, and, break into the archives. And I think it's just such a cool, it's so cool to mark that occasion with a true note of history. And I'd imagine we'll probably take the opportunity to visit about some of the things that they dug up in the archives here over the years. I saw Mark Jeschke just put out an article referring to the expansion and the foundation of Pioneer from a commercial organization and working with farmer dealers and standing up that first kind of true route to market that still we lean on really heavily as a differentiator today. You think about the crown jewels of Pioneer, arguably it's number one, the germplasm, that differentiated genetic base that we have to breed off of. Number two, I don't think it's the Outstanding in Your Field podcast, but we contribute to the education of reps and farmers, and without those customers and without that sales representative channel, I don't think the Pioneer's the organization that we have today. So those two definitely make the crown jewels of Pioneer. And it's like you said, it's just fun to hear the commentary, folks, as they reflect on 100 years worth of innovation. Crystal, what's all this mean to you as part of representing the brand with farmers in Northern Illinois?
Yeah, I think like this celebration is so special to me. And I think it really stems back to like my upbringing. So my family farms, but also my dad became a rep in 2001 timeframe. And at that point I was only 6. So I really truly grew up around the brand and, the summer summer field tours or plot tours with frying up sausage patties for breakfast and bringing donuts out to customers and different things and walking through plots, which felt really boring when you were little, but you didn't understand what they were talking about. But growing up around that or different steak fries, and then really as I evolved and got into the seed industry myself, just that true admiration and appreciation of like our go-to-market strategy of working with customers truly and being solely focused primarily on seed. And just seeing like, you know, so many people would love to try to like copy what we do, but we truly have like a awesome relationship and it's truly a relationship business. So yeah, it was fun to be a little nostalgic and look back. And if you've ever been around Pioneer and Pioneer employees, probably especially, we always talk about the long look. And so I'm going to take a moment and read through the 4 long look items, and maybe we'll get a picture to snapshot up on the screen. But number 1 is we try to produce the best products on the market. 2 is we try to deal honestly and fairly with our employees, representatives, business associates, customers, and stakeholders. 3 is we try to advertise and sell our products vigorously, but without misrepresentation. And 4, we try to give helpful management suggestions to our customers to assist them in making the greatest possible profit from our products. And I think even as an agronomist, like our piece of that pie of the long look is so integral, as well as you look at the sales reps and different people around the world and research and production and everybody, they all have a hand in that long look aspect. But I can't really talk about how special this is without recognizing every single customer and generations of customers that have gotten us to 100 years. Without them, we wouldn't be able to celebrate this milestone. So thank you to all of our customers.
I think there's so much that we take for granted, right?
Mhm.
As Pioneer employees, as farmers that plant Pioneer or think about planting Pioneer, it's an option that's on the table
Mhm.
every year. But this idea of enduring 100 years, there's a lot that's taken place in American history in the last 100 years that, is again taken for granted, right? You start up a company right before the Great Depression hits. You go through World War II, the farm crisis of the 80s. And then you continue to invest in innovation, through the advent of biotechnology. This last 100 years, it's been fraught with a lot of challenges from a business environment, especially as it relates to agriculture and all of these farms that endure today. They've gone through a lot of those challenges, hand in hand, side by side with a brand like Pioneer, and that's one of the things that truly makes this opportunity to serve the brand and serve farmers so awesome. It is that relationship and going through those challenging times together. And as farmers are making decisions here in the spring of 2026, what better opportunity than we as a group of agronomists who's got it better than us than to be able to come alongside farmers and help them make those decisions so that their operation can be part of that story, or they can build their own 100-year story as a farm. And I just think that it's really a blessing that we have to serve in this space of feeding the world and taking care of folks close to home and trying to, like Bryan said, leave it better than we found it. It's a really great opportunity we have.
Carl, I think about too, one of the words that get thrown around with a lot of modern folks is visionaries. And I think if, your comment about history, the last 100 years and everything, World War II and all these things, I think if you really think about our founder, Henry Wallace, I don't think it's a stretch to call him a visionary. You think about not only Pioneer, but you think about all the other things. He comes from the legacy of the Wallace family, the Wallace farmer here in Indiana and Illinois. You'll hear about the Indiana Prairie Farmer and, those kind of publications. That's all legacy from the Wallace family. Henry Wallace served as Secretary of Agriculture. He was the vice president under FDR. He was doing all of those things while he was still actively breeding. Our old podcast, we had somebody on from, the Yale station here in Indiana. That breeding program that's there actually was the breeding program that Henry Wallace had while he was in Washington, and they moved it here to Indiana essentially and did all that work at that time. And you just think about him, not only pioneer Highline. If you haven't paid attention to the Highline logo, look really close at the Highline logo. There'll be some similarities there. The trapezoid is on the Highline. That's the Wallace family's legacy as well. And so you think about Henry Wallace and everything that he did. I don't think it's, too much of a stretch to call him a visionary. He has completely changed the way modern agriculture operates, maybe short of the Green Revolution. Hybridization of seed corn is that kind of a thing. We learned today that we provide seed to 10 million customers worldwide. That number I didn't know about. And then you just think about the billions of people that the brand is able to help, feed throughout the world. That's an amazing thing. Sometimes when we all get in our day-to-day grind of either being an agronomist or a pioneer territory manager or a customer for that matter, we don't always realize kind of the bigger picture sometimes. And I think that's something to be very proud of, is the legacy that all of us are contributing to.
You mentioned the Green Revolution, and that's kind of the textbook, concept as you're going through, grade school, what have you, secondary education, and you learn about this, contribution to food security and helping solve, global impoverishment and world hunger. But the Norman Borlaug that contributed to the Green Revolution, he would have worked out of the Simmet, crop improvement location there in Mexico. Guess how that got founded? That
Yep.
was a Henry Wallace enterprise, as he was driving south for some semblance of an international diplomatic meeting, and he saw, boy, what a challenging environment, and how could we let crop productivity contribute to, the local economy and food security? And so, yeah, the tentacles, they really sprawl out to a lot of different areas that we take for granted. But I just think that this idea of 100 years ago, folks were getting the same yields that you got as pilgrims, as native populations were, 25 bushels to the acre maybe. And here 100 years later, you're looking at national averages, 180, 200 bushels. That's a big improvement. And where are we going in the next 100 years? We're probably not going to be here to see it. But if you had to throw a dart of where it's landing, if we went from 25 to 200, where are we going to go from 200 to what's next? The
Oh, yeah.
opportunities are endless.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about, we're on the cusp of, gene editing and CRISPR technology and all those kind of things. And it'll probably look way different in 5 years, let alone 25 years. And then I think about in 100 years when you all have grandkids that, may be involved in agriculture. I can't even imagine. I don't know, I wonder sometimes what Henry Wallace and Dr. Baker thought when they started this enterprise. Where would it go 100 years later? And I don't even know if they could imagine. They were pretty visionary guys, as I mentioned, but boy, did they think that, 200 would be a starting point for a lot of our growers today. I don't know. It's really interesting what could happen just in the short term with the technology, but then to look at long term, it's an amazing thing. I wouldn't even begin to want to venture a guess.
Or even to think about the concept of like, what would they have thought about like multi-disease resistance or different, soybean cyst traits and different things like that. It's really cool to imagine, what their reaction would be to that. And, obviously there's so many, like you think about even insect management from traits that we brought out in the 90s and early 2000s, and even weed technology. I don't know how they would have fathomed something like that. And even telling farmers from the 90s or 80s, where we would be at today, is really cool and incredible to picture. So yes, I can only imagine the conversations that Carl and I will be telling our grandkids someday about what the 2020s were like, right? Yes, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else quick on the 100-year celebration, guys?
I'm going to make one recommendation to folks. If you're a reader, Crystal, there is a great book on Henry Wallace that I'd recommend. Now, it's got lots of pages, so if you're looking for a picture book, not necessarily. But there is a great biography of Henry Wallace called American Dreamer that was written by John Culver and John Hyde. It's a great read. It delves into the history of Pioneer in certain spots. It talks about Henry Wallace and his friendship with George Washington Carver at Iowa State. It's in the politics side of it. It's just a great read if you're interested in getting a history of Henry Wallace himself specifically. It's a great book. I recommend it to a lot of folks who are interested in the history of the brand and in the man. And so that one, I'd tell anybody that if you've got some time, maybe this winter, grab this book and go through it, because it's a really great read.
Cool. Okay, we'll have to add that to our list. Thank you, Bryan. Well, no, everybody, I hope you have or enjoy your celebration of Pioneer 100 years. Thank you.
This has been another episode of Outstanding in Your Field. Like and follow our podcast wherever you are listening. We've got a new episode at least once a month. You can also find us on YouTube by following Pioneer Seeds. You can find me on Instagram at B_K_Schrader.
I'm Crystal Williams. You can contact me at crystal.williams@pioneer.com.
And I'm Carl Jorn. You can follow along with me at CJorn on X or on Facebook at CJorn Agronomy. That's CJOERN.
That concludes this Pioneer Agronomy video podcast. Visit our page on pioneer.com and follow us on Twitter and Facebook for more agronomy insights.